What up, guys? The offensive madman Kyle Robinson coming to you today with another edition of Is It Worth the Hard Drive Space? And today's edition is a first as I review my first PC game, WWE2K Battlegrounds. Now, disclaimer, I did get this game for free through the Humble Bundle, but I was extremely excited as I am a massive wrestling fan, and after the dumpster fire that was WWE 2K20 last year, absolutely terrible game. So I was really excited to give this a try. Realistically, just some quick thoughts here before we get into an actual match. The game itself is extremely easy to pick up and play. It is very arcadey, which is kind of what they were going for, and they aimed for the over-the-top style of gameplay, which was something that you really didn't expect, I guess, going into this, because WWE really hadn't done a game like that in a long time. Right here, you'll see we're going through the selection of some of the superstars that are available. And from a graphics perspective, this game wasn't the most beautiful one I'd ever seen, but I don't think it was supposed to be. The game was very well done for what it was. The characters looked exactly like their real-life counterparts. They didn't play like their real-life counterparts, obviously, but they looked very cool in their miniature forms, as you'll see once we jump into the gameplay here in just a second. So I went ahead and I jumped into an Undertaker versus Sting match, just because this is one of those matches that I thought would be a lot of fun to play. And you'll see immediately here that the over-the-top arcade style is very present in the presentation of the game and the way the characters move about. I kind of shortened this match out a little bit just because I didn't see the point in broadcasting all, 5 to 10 minutes of this match, whatever it ended up being. But you'll see there the throw up there that he does to the Undertaker. Sting did the power up system, and there's this whole ridiculousness that is 2K Battlegrounds. It still is a lot of fun, a ton of fun, believe it or not. And because of that, I gotta tell you that if you're a wrestling fan, get a controller and try 2K Battlegrounds on the PC, or even if you have the PS4, PS5, or Xbox 360, it's also available there. So I would 100% recommend, as a wrestling fan, you should pick this game up. One of the modes that'll keep you coming back if you're by yourself is the campaign and the Battleground Challenge. Well, for Battleground Challenge, you have to have a custom created character. So that's what we're doing here. And even though it's not as robust, per se, as some of the 2K titles that you're used to, the character creation for this particular game is exactly what you would expect. And they allow you to pick a class or attribute style, high flyer, powerhouse, speedster, things like that. And then you kind of get just a very selection of heads and body types and things like that to kind of give your character some flavor. Once you get through the character creation, then it's required for the Battleground Challenge, which is essentially like a character creation career mode, which is kind of fun. Let's take a look at that now. So the Battleground Challenge mode is probably one of the neater modes out of the two of these. You take a created wrestler and you're able to play through the tree of events and collect rewards, upgrade points, things like that, which is really kind of fun. It does give the allure of a wrestling style RPG. You'll see my weird little demon-like character that I made here, the offensive madman, with my blue beard, demon eyes, and all that fun stuff. So realistically, if you have the option to play one of the two modes, I would recommend this, only because it gives that RPG element that I think a lot of wrestling games are missing. So with all of that, this is probably my favorite mode in the game, strictly because of that, especially if you're a single player of wrestling games like I am. This and campaign are going to be what keeps you coming back. which, speaking of, let's take a look at the campaign mode for WWE 2K Battlegrounds. So the campaign mode for 2K Battlegrounds is actually really kind of cool. It is fully voiced by Stone Cold Steve Austin and Paul Heyman, and I decided not to include a video of the campaign itself, just because if you're a story connoisseur in a wrestling game like I am, then I think you would enjoy playing through the story. However, as you see here, I am kind of scrolling through the map. Bottom left there tells you there are 118 matches that you can play through, which is an eclectic amount of matches and things you can do for a campaign mode. And I'm very surprised by how large both of these modes were when they launched for 2K Battlegrounds. And, you know, with that and the voiceover and everything, I think this was the redeeming quality that WWE needed for their video games. And because of that, I definitely think that it would behoove 2K to continue with this style of game in the future. So let's go ahead and give 2K Battlegrounds our final score. And for this particular game, I'm going to go ahead and rate it on content, playability, and graphics. So from content, just at a launch game for a wrestling game, I'm going to go an 8 out of 10 because the campaign mode, the King of the Battleground mode here, as you see, which is the online version, and the challenge mode, fantastic. So yes, I'm going to go 8 out of 10. Then let's take a look at playability. This is probably the easiest pick up and play wrestling game that exists right now. So from a playability standpoint, I'm going to say 8.5. 8.5 out of 10 for playability. And last but not least, for graphics, well, given the miniature style of the graphics and the way that it's done, I would honestly go out and say that because of the presentation and everything that goes along with it, I think the graphics for this game, I'd go 9 out of 10. And I think a lot of people are going to be a little upset by that particular score. But all of those come together for a final score for WWE 2K Battlegrounds of a 9 out of 10. If you're a wrestling fan that enjoys wrestling games, I would fully implore you go pick up WWE 2K Battlegrounds on your system of choice and get in there and go for the over-the-top action that makes some WWE games all that much better. That's going to do it for today's edition of Is It Worth the Drive Space. I would fully recommend you pick up 2K Battlegrounds. And then next month, we're going to be doing our review over the new Square Enix game, Outriders. It's a looter shooter, so look for that to be coming in the early part of April. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, if there is a game that you'd like to see me play or review, be sure to drop that in the comments below or send it to me on Facebook or Twitter. And until next time, everybody, please remember that if words offend you, you can fuck off.